I'm here with Taylor Morgan of iChoseU.com, the vocations office with the Diocese of Lexington. Taylor, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
And you've got a special guest along with you.
Yes, this is my 3.5-year-old son, Levi.
Yeah, that's great. Possibly a future seminarian.
Well, he is Levi, and that was the gospel reading on the day he was born.
Right.
And so that's the Levitical line of priests. And, it's something I think like a lot of Catholic families, it's something we would be open to, and we would encourage him to develop a healthy respect for the priesthood and for all vocations, and hopefully not pressure him either towards it or away from it in an undue fashion.
Right. So we're here today because we're in the Benedictus Books and Gift Store, and there's an event going on with Bishop Stowe will be here, and you got a bunch of seminarians here as well, right?
We do. So for our size, the Diocese of Lexington has a huge number of seminarians. There's 16 for the 2015-2016 school year. Yeah,
that's the biggest yet, right?
It is our biggest yet.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we have, I think, 6 religious sisters in formation and 3 religious men in formation.
My goodness.
Different orders and kind of spread geographically throughout the United States, but we've just been so blessed, and it's all about their willingness to answer God's call. God continues to call vocations, right? To every vocation, to marriage, to religious life, to the priesthood, and it's really about being open to it.
Right.
It's not a game show where you're just hoping for the best. It's something that comes out of a relationship with Christ, and oftentimes it catches people by surprise. It's not what they were expecting from birth. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they were playing priest as a kid, and they kind of always lean towards it.
Right.
Sometimes it's a surprise. It's not what they were expecting,
Yeah.
and it's because God calls them, and then maybe it takes them a little while, but eventually they're open enough to have that courageous yes.
Yeah. So 16. I know that we've kind of been ranked depending on per capita and the number of seminarians. So is that up? I mean, we kind of been in the number 1 slot before anyway, right? I mean, does that put us number 1?
We have. I don't know what our current one is. Last year we were 6th.
Not that it's a competition.
It's not a competition, and it's also a little biased. If you're a smaller diocese, it's very easy to have a better
weighted.
ratio.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the other things that we look at, though, is the priest replacement ratio. And we have about 1 seminarian per 4 priests that we have now.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge thing. That means that we are in a positive trend. We're not going to have just like 1 priest left trying to travel around to 50 parishes.
Right, sure.
Our numbers are stable. They could be better.
Right.
We certainly keep praying for more vocations, and the more priests and sisters and healthy marriages in our diocese, the better we'll all be. And it's a ripple effect. That's what's so neat. And sometimes we talk to high school students or college students about just the basics of vocation, that we're all called to holiness. And we say, it really matters because, for instance, if you're going to be married and you're going to have kids and they're going to have kids, and that's going to affect generations.
Yeah, sure.
And the same thing if you're a priest, you're going to be serving people and showing Christ to people, and then they'll show Christ to other people. And it's this huge effect. It's all in God's providence, but it really matters. And it's not just that God doesn't really care about your life. He has a specific plan. And I mean, he has to. That's what the Bible tells us. That's what church tradition tells us. And just good reason, right? If it affects so much and we trust in God's providence, then it matters what you choose as your vocation and what you're willing to say yes to.
Yeah. Well, and I think we talked about this kind of stuff before, but I think it's also important to point out that just because someone is a seminarian does not necessarily mean they're on their way to the priesthood, because it is a time of discernment.
That's right. Discernment continues on. Hopefully by the time they're about to be ordained as a transitional deacon, they've kind of solidified
by that time,
Yeah. But earlier on, it's certainly discernment. There comes a point in a lot of guys' discernment where they kind of can't progress any further without going to seminary.
Right, sure.
They have to be in the environment. They have to see what it's like. They have to start being formed that way for them to realize, yes, this is what God's calling, or no, it's not.
And there's been a number of those. I know some individuals who have chosen another vocation path after having been in the seminary for a while, and I don't think that any of them would trade that time that they experienced, because that's only helped them. They know they've discerned it, right? They know they've been there.
I've never met someone who's left the seminary who's regretted having gone.
Right.
Because the formation, it's so well-rounded. It's not just classes. It's not just prayer. It's being formed in so many different areas, and that prepares them for whatever God ends up calling them to do. I've never once met someone. I mean, sometimes it's difficult. It's a difficult process to have gone and then to leave, but it's one that shapes who they are, and they always are appreciative of it.
Now, you guys with iChoseU.com and the seminary and the vocations office, I should say, you're usually doing events, you're planning things of that nature. Got anything coming up that's of interest?
Yes, we do. So on August 7th, that's a Friday, we're going to do a cookout. This is just for young men who are interested in the priesthood.
Okay.
We get our seminarians together, we get our priests together, Bishop John will be there, and there's not any kind of like weighty presentation or any kind of pressure or anything. It's just a cookout.
Right.
But you get to see the seminarians up close and see, hey, these are normal, happy, well-adjusted people. They're laughing and telling jokes. And people who come, if they want to, they can ask questions like, well, what's it like? And can you really pray that much? I mean, isn't that too much? And just to see it up close is a big thing for people. So that's August 7th. If they go to iChoseU.com/cookout, they can get the details there and request, all the invitation. And
so
everything.
young men who are on their way to discernment. So what are you thinking, like 18 and up?
Oh no, we have the cookout is open even down to high school.
Oh, is there?
Occasionally
Okay.
we'll get a junior high.
Okay, so this is just anybody with kind of an inkling. So
Any young man
you.
with kind of wondering if they're called, they're not really sure what to do. That's the most common thing we get is somebody who says, I think I may be called. I don't know what to do.
Right, sure. Yeah.
And there's not a one single answer. Certainly prayer helps, and reading about it and coming to events is a good way to just take a step forward without committing to anything.
Right, sure.
But it's something that God will guide them through. They just have to be open to it. And openness is not just telling yourself, okay, I'm open, right? It's doing something. It's maybe learning about it or talking to someone or asking questions. It's certainly praying about it and just trying to grow in that relationship with Christ. Because when a priest does ministry, like say a hospital visit or troubled marriage, right? The couple may be coming to the priest, or the family may be coming to the priest because he has a good reputation for dispute resolution, or he's very pastoral or something. But I think oftentimes they're coming to the priest because they want Jesus in that situation.
Interesting.
It's they want Jesus to come visit them. They feel that need, and it's such a privilege. I hear priests tell me this all the time. Such a privilege to represent Jesus and to be Jesus for them.
Wow.
And so that's if you're going to do that with your ministry, you've got to be grounded in Jesus. You can't give what you don't have.
Right. Sure.
And so the biggest part of seminary formation is just developing that relationship with Christ and walking with Him, because it's a long journey. As all vocations are, there's going to be ups and downs, and you're only going to get through it if you're connected with Christ.
Wow. iChoseU.com, that's where you find out all your information, right?
That's right. You can see a little bit about each of our seminarians. You can see our upcoming events. We have tons of pages of resources, how to discern, maybe what are some good signs that I'm called or that I'm not.
Right, sure.
That has been one of our most popular articles.
How do I know that I'm not?
How do I know that I'm not called? So we have a lot of resources, and you can easily get in touch with us through there and just ask questions as casual or as serious as you like.
Right. But I think that, just to wrap it up, that's the important thing. If you think there might be something, it's worth exploring, right?
It's worth for your own sake.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
so that if you're not called later on, you don't say, I wonder if I should have looked into that. You look back and you say, I pursued it, I was open to it. It's not what God wanted, or maybe it was.
But hey, you did your part.
That's right.
Due diligence. Taylor Morgan, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.